Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for a new episode of Am I the Asshole? If you're a fan of hearing Reddit stories, we'd really appreciate it if you could like or subscribe to help support the channel. Without further ado, let's get started with our first story. Am I the asshole for telling my sister she is the reason she isn't pretty? The other day, I, 20 female, was having a conversation with my little sister, 17 female. The conversation went towards discussing pretty privilege, and she went on a rant talking about how unfair it is, and if that she was prettier, she would be popular and have a boyfriend. Now this upset me, because my little sister is super lucky. She is naturally blonde, has a beautiful face, is very thin even though she eats a lot of junk food, and her boobs and butt are huge. However, she's a complete slob. She dresses in very baggy clothing, doesn't wear makeup, her hair is a mess, and she often smells bad because she doesn't shower much. She also has acne. I know that isn't her fault, but I used to have bad acne, and I found out how to get rid of it. But when I suggest this to her, she just ignored it. I told her that the reason she isn't pretty is because she doesn't put any effort into her appearance. She got mad at me and stormed off. I know that nobody should be obligated to look nice, but it just upset me to hear her complain about her appearance, considering her circumstances. However, I'm starting to think what I said was a bit insensitive. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your phrasing could have been just a tad gentler, but you really didn't do anything wrong here. But instead of the reason you're not pretty, you could have said the reason people don't realize you're pretty. See how the phrasing changes the tone of how it might be received? I'm gonna go, not the asshole, just because not showering is actually horrible. Baggy clothes and no makeup is fine, honestly, but the messy hair and smell is, yeah. She's mad now, but Jesus, someone's gotta tell her to wash. Baggy clothes and no makeup is of course fine, but you can't whine about pretty privilege if you're not putting effort into your appearance. I might be going against the grain here, but you're the asshole. First of all, you sound jealous of her. And it seems like you took this as an opportunity to put her down when she was already feeling down. Secondly, this is not the way to help your sister understand how to improve her hygiene. It is insensitive and doesn't help her improve. You simply shamed her. Lastly, by your description of your sister and how she takes care of herself, I would be asking her what is wrong. Maybe she is this way because she doesn't want a ton of male attention on her, because it makes her feel uncomfortable. I've known plenty of beautiful women who do things to dress down because they don't just want to be seen as sex objects, they want to be seen as whole people. Maybe she doesn't like being sexualized, and her poor hygiene is a defense mechanism. Regardless, you should ask her about it instead of shame her. Am I the asshole for telling my parents they had to sell my vehicle back to me? My parents love all their kids. They just have a soft spot for my somewhat useless brother. He can't win. He is almost 30, and he has never had a steady job. Just a series of Joe jobs, wearing a name tag and a hat. Whenever I buy myself a new car, I give my old one to my parents. I could trade them in, but I can afford to help my parents out. My cars are usually 6 years old and maybe have 30,000 miles. I rarely drive. The last car I gave them was a Jeep Patriot. It was loaded. I could have traded it in for $9,000. Instead, I sold it to my dad for $1. He had it for 6 months before he gave it to my brother. My brother sold it for $12,000. I could have done that. My whole idea was for my parents to have a good car with no maintenance issues. I just go a new Bronco, so I talked to my parents. I said that the only way I would give them the Ram was if we had a contract stating that if they sold it in the next 5 years, they had to sell it back to me for $1. They said that I was treating them like children, and that once it was their truck, they could do whatever they wanted. I agreed that was fair. I sold my truck privately and got $27,000 for it. I used that as part of my purchase of my new Bronco. My dad saw my new vehicle and asked when I was going to drop off the truck. I told him I sold it. Him and my mom are upset because they are now driving a 12-year-old Kia shitbox. That's not really my problem. I tried to help them, and it wasn't good enough for them. My parents think I went back on my word. I never promised them anything. I only ever offer them a deal, not the asshole. I just go a new Bronco. So I talked to my parents. I said that the only way I would give them the Ram was if we had a contract stating that if they sold it in the next 5 years, they had to sell it back to me for $1. They said that I was treating them like children and that once it was their truck, they could do whatever they wanted. You presented your parents with an offer to take over your used vehicle. They didn't like the terms of the deal. Oh well, it is what it is. Entitled Daddy and your brother sound like a match made in mediocrity. Enjoy your new car, not the asshole, but your parents are steamers. Your parents are taking you for granted. You owe them nothing. It's crazy they say they can do whatever they want with it, but you shouldn't do what you want with it. That's nuts. It doesn't even make sense. Of course you're not the asshole. They should realize how lucky they've been. Maybe now they will. Not the asshole. The fact they gave your car away is already disrespectful, Imo. Not the asshole. It's your property. You paid for it. Throw the words back in your old man's face. I owned it. I can do whatever I want with it. If you can't trust your parents not to go and give your brother another crutch, then don't. Well, that's another episode of Am I the Asshole in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.